Okay folks, we got our perlite. Finally got to make it to Carthage Farm Supply here, but I don't know, 16 17 miles away, and pick this up. And now I've got to make it to another place to get the I'm gonna go ahead and get mortar clay or mortar mix for like a fireplace, but I'll show you when I get it. They make some different grades of it, but this is the pure perlite, and I went ahead and got 8 cubic feet. Probably didn't need but 4, but I wanted to make sure I had enough. And I always put it in the building and save it. But anyway, got this in. I'll get the other, and then we can get started on the smelter. But I did get one piece in that I want to show you. Okay folks, I picked up a magneto. Wasn't going to get one, but I found this one, and this one's rough as can be, but wanted to show you a few things about this. This is a Dixie 601, and the last patent date on it's 1914. So it's close to the era that we're messing with or wanting to duplicate here, but a little bit later, about 3 or 4 years later. But don't really matter. I mean, they did use Dixie mags back then, you know, different model than this, and they used these on Indian motorcycles, and a bunch of different ones used it. But I don't know if Harley used them or not. But anyway, this is just a single cylinder magneto, and this does have impulse coupler. And now it's stuck inside here. I don't know if the spring's any good. I doubt anything would work in it. Here's the points. This is single cylinder, which is a good thing. But I think what we're going to do, we're going to remake a points plate, but make it adjustable for the timing. And it'll just mount in here and use this same lobe. May use a different set of points. I want to probably use a set of points that's obtainable. And we'll make all of this. But I'll get this, you know, this look that I'm wanting. This is copper. I don't think it's brass. I'm sure it's just copper. I don't know. It's got a yellow look to it, so it may be brass. But I'll clean this up really good and make it look real good. And what we may do, if we don't go back is using this as a magneto, is actually put a little coil inside this, and possibly a motorcycle coil. And we're going to figure out a way of running it back out the original post here. These are usually broke off, and that was the good part about this one, is that, you know, it wasn't broke. It was in good, you know, good shape. And but anyway, this will work for what we need. If we'll probably end up using a gear here, and or a sprocket, excuse me, and going on and running a chain drive. And you know, if we make it into a distributor instead of a magneto. But basically, you know, to use a magneto for a distributor, you're just using, you know, the timing and the shaft and the points, and then just run it to a coil, and that's all you need. So, you know, it basically becomes a distributor instead of a magneto. But we will probably end up doing that, because I could imagine what this thing looks like inside. You can see this old, that's probably Bakelite. Cracked up and broke up. You know, Bakelite was one of the earliest plastics, and it just don't hold up over years and years of time. But so we'll pull it apart and see what we can do. But either way, we'll use it, and we'll get the look I'm looking for anyway. And we'll get it cleaned up. And it's got, like I said, it's got all the patent dates on this end. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a Dixie on it, and pretty neat magneto. But then it's not huge. It's not a real big one. I mean, it's not as small as I'd like, but we can live with it. But all right, just wanted to show you that. That'll give us a good start. Okay, folks. My plans, like I said, were to make this into a distributor, but I thought I was buying pretty much just a junk magneto, and you know, I actually got it for a junk price. But I was playing with it, and I got the impulse coupler unstuck to where it would work, and I just so happened to have my hand on the top of it while I was turning it, and I felt some spark coming from it. So and it's the clockwise rotation, so it's actually the right rotation of what we need. And so I done some research on these, and you know, they had a major problem with the bases rotting away, and this base is just about perfect, and no problems with the bolt holes or anything like that. So anyway, The other problem they had was with this condenser. This is actually the condenser for it, and it's a thin one, and this has got the patent date right on it, and 1915, 1916, something like that. But anyway, this was a lot of the problem, and this can be replaced. You know, there's no room for a regular condenser in here, but there's some photo condensers. There's a few other things that we can put in here to work as a condenser. Well, I mean, it will be a condenser. It'll be just a different style. So I think what I'm going to do is where you can see it. I mean, it's in really good shape inside. It's not, you know, I figured this thing was going to be just ragged as can be in there, and turns good, and single cylinder, so that's, you know, a plus. And the thing is okay, a couple things about this. You know, this has an impulse coupler, and let me explain what an impulse coupler is for anybody that don't know. This lever latches down and it catches it. It's spring loaded inside, so this thing would actually, let's see if I can get it to do it at all. As you can see, this is turning and the rest is not, and what it does is it spring loads. There's a piece here that will come around that hits this latch and knocks this latch up, and when it knocks it up, it rotates inside really fast, and that's how you get the power through the magnet to be able to make enough voltage to throw a spark at a low RPM. You know, when you're trying to foot start it, hand start it, or whatever on an old engine. If it don't have this, then it has to have sort of a dynamo. And to give you an idea on a magneto, what it would have is sort of like this phone magneto, where it has a small gear and a big gear, and you're turning the big gear, and the big gear actually makes the small gear turn really fast, and that way you can get, you know, it's just a gear ratio, it changes the gear ratio. That way you can actually get a spark, but you're not doing it, you know, you're turning this one at low speed, but that one's turning at high speed. So that's how you get your spark. But it's a constant instead of just a trip. And the thing about a magneto is the faster you turn it, the more spark you have. And unlike, you know, unlike battery ignition, let me say. But anyway, this impulse coupler, they used these on Indian bikes and stuff, but they would have had a different setup here, and they would have had either a gear drive or a sprocket drive, but probably a gear drive on the Indians and stuff. But so we need to put a gear on the end, but I'm not sure how this will hold up with the side load of the chain. So we may have to make something here, make a small T-slot piece that presses in or slides in here, you know, with a piece that goes on the end, and maybe add a outboard bearing here. We'll just have to figure it out. You know, we can cast a piece, or we can build a piece that goes over the end of this. The originals, and I don't remember what they are, M1s or M7s or something, but anyway, the originals that they used on the bikes had an aluminum cover here, and that would have held, you know, I don't know if they had a bearing or a bushing in, and then the gear was on the outside. So we can do something with that to get a gear mounted on it, either way. Now, I did see one that had a gear on it, and it wasn't a sprocket, it was a gear. That didn't have the outboard, and I don't know, you know, I'd really have to check this out to make sure that, you know, the strength is there, and we wouldn't want it to wear. Now this is, I put some lithium grease in here, but this is the oil hole, and you actually go through this this side cover here, and this has got a spring loaded, well, it's not spring loaded, but I guess it's probably spring steel. It's got a little piece on it. When you push it, you know, you're able to actually put your oil right down in this hole inside, but from the side of the cover. But on the other side, okay, this is where things get a little different. This particular magneto would have been off of something electric start and didn't have a way of retarding the timing, and this would have been a, you know, just a permanent setup, and, you know, set the timing and be done with it. That's not what we want. We want to be able to vary it, and we really need to vary it. Like I said, we don't have electric start. I don't need to break a leg, and I don't need to break an arm if I decide to hand crank it. And so we're going to actually build the piece that would normally go here, that holds on. It'll be a points plate. We're basically going to remake this. We're probably not going to use these points. I'm probably going to maybe use a late model set of points in it. Hopefully I can find something small enough that, you know, we'll go in. And but anyway, we're going to make a plate. We're going to make it with a lever on it. We'll make a cover for it, and then we'll have a piece coming out with a spring steel that goes and holds the cover on, and that holds everything in and together on it. It's really not a hard thing to do. You know, the main thing is getting all the measurements, doing this design, and I'll show you as we go on this. Now, the original ones for the motorcycles actually had a cover that lifted up here in the top of it, where you could actually, I'm assuming, adjust the points, because the points adjustment on this is this screw right here. It's sort of a set screw with a contact on the end, but you can see they don't even line up now because of the you know, all the corrosion of this and cracking. And you know, I thought this was plastic, but I'm wrong about that. It's not. It's the same metal that this base is made out of, and it's like a pot metal of some kind. And you know, I just seen this and just assumed it was plastic. It looked plastic to me. You know, I thought it was Bakelite. But when I seen some of these bases look just like this, I realized that this piece here is actually made out of the same material, but the bases actually do this, crack and, you know, distort. You know, it's changed its size. I don't know what causes that, but I'm really lucky on this base being good. And so I think, you know, what we're going to do is put this back together. See if it sparks. If it don't, we can recharge the magnets. I think this one's just got one big, it might have, I think it might be split in the middle. It might be two magnets, but we can recharge the magnets. If we have to, we can rewind, you know, have the coil rewind, whatever we need to do. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and make it into a magneto. I mean, I like magnetos. I like the way they fire. You know, it's a good strong fire when you're turning it slow. You don't have to worry about a battery. You know, it's all self-contained. And we will see what we can do about getting a condenser, something besides this little plate condenser. And I can't remember what they said they ran paper-wise in there. Litmus papers. They, you know, use something in a condenser, but you know, this just stores energy. But we will actually come up with another one for it. Okay, folks, I'm having a lot of trouble finding fire mortar, I guess is what it's called. It's mortar mix, like a brick mix, but it's for fireplaces, for heat. He went to a fireplace company, and they do so many prefab units that they don't even offer it anymore. So I'm having trouble finding it. I've only got one bag of bentonite left. I can mix it with some Portland cement, make my own, but I need the bentonite to make the foundry molds. So I don't know. We're sort of in limbo here until I can figure something out. Try to order some or something. But anyway, figured we'd work on this magneto a little more. I did clean up one side of it a little bit, as you can see. The last patent date on it was July 28th of 1914. No, I'm sorry, January 26th of 1915. That was the last USA, and actually the last anyway. But pretty neat. I like it. I'm going to get it cleaned up. It's a really low serial number, 6713. That's a low for a 601 because you know, they made a lot of these things. But we're getting ready to start on our arm here. This is going to be on our arm for timing, to change the time, advance and retard it. But it's also going to be the points holder. And I pulled out an old set of points. And I think these are old 600 Chevrolet, but I'm not sure. But I just grabbed these for an idea. I wanted to see what size-wise, you know, what I was going to have to do, and maybe to clear everything if I ran a set this big. Now the set that's in it originally, hopefully you can see this. This camera doesn't do good in the dark, and I don't have any good lights, so I'm going to invest in some lighting here before it's over with. But these points are a lot bigger than the originals. The originals, you know, finding them would be about impossible. So you know, I'm going to try to update to a later style. I've got to get the condenser on the way, you know, instead of using this one. Now, a lot of these magnetos, especially I think it was the M7s that they used on the Harleys and stuff. They didn't have a big one like this that went in the side of the unit like this one does. You know, it goes in the side here. It actually had one that was a little bit smaller that went in the top of the cap, and it might have been close to the same size, but it actually went right here, and it actually covered up the points and stuff. And so anywhere that we can make room or find room for a condenser, you know, it'll work. 0.22 640 volt I think is what we've got to have. That's what my understanding is, but we can get one of the photo condensers. I think we'll do fine. They're really cheap, you know, we're talking 50 cents a piece or something like that, you know. And if you order 10, you get them a lot cheaper. So I may order 10 because I, you know, mess with mags quite a bit, so maybe they'll work out later. But anyway, but what we're going to do, we're going to build a piece sort of like what you see here on the paper. And the only thing that we've really got to make sure we do is our hole right. It slides over here and it actually pivots around it. And then it's going to come up, it's going to step in, and we're going to make it as small as we can make it and still fit over top of this, you know, our lobe for our points. And outside of it, you know, as big as round as we want to make it, you know, we'll probably do something about the size of the outside of this old setup. And of course, you know, we're going to have the arm sticking off of it, and that's going to be, we can move it up and down. Now the slot at the bottom is actually for where this wire comes through. I figured I would slot it, and we're going to replace this wire or change it out, but you know, you got to have a place for it to come through anyway, so that'll do fine. And I think, you know, the way this is set up, or the way we're wanting to set it up, not necessarily the way that it was originally, but the way that we want to set it up, we'll have our points plate, we'll have everything, and then we'll have a cap that goes over this, and it'll sort of look like an expansion plug or a freeze plug turned upside down, put over top. And then this down here, and this is the telltale sign that this was not set up as an adjustable when it came to the timing. You know, this was probably off something with electric start. There will be a piece come out of here. What we'll do is we'll make something that'll screw into this screw hole down at the bottom, and it'll come out, and it'll have another place in the end of it to screw on. And we'll take a piece of little flat steel, it'll come out, and it'll actually be sort of spring loaded, and when you swing it around, it actually goes on the end of the cap and holds the cap on, holds it in toward, you know, the inside. And of course that would help ground it too. You know, you're gonna be grounding in here because you know, you really need your base grounded, because your points, you know, that's how they fire, is when they ground. So it'll be grounded in here. We're gonna have all this cleaned off. I'm gonna polish it all, so it'll be grounded inside here, and then with our piece coming out up, and then, you know, have the spring tension against it, it'll be grounded on the outside of the cap. Okay folks, I'm not through, but I'm through for tonight. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I've got, well, I don't have enough hands. I'm trying to hold a light and show you too. Anyway, we've got it recessed down. That's 3/8 of an inch, and then we've got our OD that's going to slide over our piece on our magneto, and then our ID, which is going to, it gives me an extra room on the front side because this is the back side. It gives me a little extra room to be able to mount my points and stuff. And then our lever is coming off here. I've got to finish all it up, go ahead and cut all this out, and I got to cut my slot where I want it for my wire to come through. And we're just slowly working along with it. But for now, it's about 10:30 at night. I think we'll call it a night. Got quite a bit done. I zeroed the machine back out and shut her down. Not sure how I'm going to do this end of it. I want it to be a little bit of a round piece up here, so I may have to reset this and, you know, find the new center here, and then machine around it. You know, the way it is, it's definitely going to be too big. You know, I'm going to have to file it, grind it, whatever. I mean, we'll do it, but just trying to get the main piece cut out now. And anyway, it's moving along, looking good. And we'll get back on this maybe tomorrow night or something. We don't have any rain, so it won't be tomorrow. It won't matter tomorrow during the day anyway. Maybe tomorrow night. All right. Okay, folks, we've got our part cut out. Haven't really done any work to it yet. As you can see, it's rough around here. I think I can get where you can see. This camera don't do good up close. Anyway, our ways on our compound on our rotary table, we've got some, I don't know, they're just loose. So I'm going to go through and tighten it up to where I don't use the compound part anyway, so I'm going to try to tighten it up where it can't move, and that's why we've got these rough places in here. Every time I would turn it by hand, I guess it's moving a little bit and making it do it. And you know, it's not smooth to turn anyway, so, but anyway, it don't matter. I mean, that could be cleaned up real easy. But on the straights, it done good. But here's what I cut it out of. You seen that big piece, and then I laid this under it. I didn't want to cut into the chuck on the, or the flat on the rotary table, and so I just cut a piece of that plastic and laid it up under it and bolted it down tight. But anyway, fits on good. It's kind of tight. It's I need to loosen it up some, I guess. Open it up just a little bit, but I mean, I'd rather have it a little tight than too loose. And as you can see, I just made it where it would just clear going over this, the lobes for our points to open. The wire comes through just fine, and like I said, I'm going to change that wire, but it worked out really good to where, let's see if I can get it where it'll move here. Yeah, it's pretty tight, but you can see that's plenty to be able to adjust the timing. And let me see if I can get it off there. It's kind of tight, a little too tight, but I'd rather have it too tight than too loose. But you can see maybe what we ended up with here. That's the back size, just countersunk to be able to go in and over, and worked out good. Now I cut a little bit off here. You can see it ain't perfect again, but you know, when you get any kind of movement at all, you're going to get stuff like that. And you know, with that compound rotary table, it's just an old cheap one, and it's probably about wore out. But I'm going to try to tighten it down so it can't, so the ways don't move, because I don't need it to move left and right, you know, in and out. So anyway, probably going to do some more machining on this. I would say thin up the handle some and go around really close to the edge and put a little bevel around it so I can actually make a cap that goes over this. Now, points wise, I'm probably going to come up with a set of points, but I'm going to show you what I've, you know, basically what we're doing here, so you understand it pretty easy. Okay, now one thing for sure, by the time I'm done, this handle will be smaller. I just put a 3/16 hole through it. You know, we may end up going out to 1/4 inch for a pin. You know, that'll be later when I do the linkage, but you know, the lever will be, you know, cut down some smaller. It won't be any shorter. You know, it's probably a little longer than maybe I should have made it, but it don't matter. It's not a big deal. But here's what, this is the set of points. Like I said, I think these are Chevrolet, and these are actually a brand new set, but they laid it in a toolbox somewhere and got rusty, so they're really no good. But I'm just going to use this as an example. These are bigger than what I'd like to use, but basically they would go right here, and you know, they go on the lobe fine. Now they're a little wider than what the lobe is, because the lobe, it's made for some small points. But you know, basically all I would have to do would be drill one hole for the pivot right there, and then one hole that is threaded for the screw. And as long as we put it in the right place so we can still, you know, adjust it with our slide, and that's it. And then this wire here will actually, you know, like I said, I'm going to replace it, but I mean, we'll actually come up and go into our points, and that's all we need. Still having trouble finding any fire clay or fire mortar mix. Having a heck of a time. Had one place said they had it. I drove about 30 miles to go get it, and they didn't have it. So I've got to get to work on this smelter or furnace or whatever you want to call it. But until I find something or get something ordered here, I can't do a thing on it. So we'll keep playing with this a little bit, see if we can go and get some points on it, and maybe we can get it where we can see if it'll fire now. Okay, folks, we're back messing around with this thing a little bit. I went ahead and done a little bit of machining. I put me a little just a little lip around there, and that way the cover will fit over top of that. Made my handle a little bit thinner, and we'll probably file it. I don't want this to look like it's been machined out. I want it to look more like it's been sort of like it's been casted. So this will probably be oval shaped when we're done, but for now we're going to leave it. Everything seems to be working out except trying to find a set of points. Now these points are Volkswagen. I don't know how I ended up with them, but they are Volkswagen. This is Honda 70, way too big. That's CT 70, Trail 70. These Dodge points could possibly work, but the problem we're running into, the nut and stuff, I could cut off one nut, and ooh, that wouldn't be good neither, cutting off one nut. But anyway, I could cut it off to shorten it up, and probably clear it, would be kind of close. Okay folks, I went ahead and cut the nut off of this set of crossbar points, and I'm just looking them over, trying to decide for sure. I think it's pretty late. I think I'm going to sleep on it and maybe figure something out. I'm not happy with either set, to be honest with you. I mean, that's why I'm still sitting here ciphering on what to do. But so I may hunt something up different, or it's hard to say. But anyway, we're going to end this one here, and hopefully we'll have some fire clay here, and we can go ahead and get to work on our smelter. It's not going to be long. All right. Bye.